When I first started this, I was looking to play Darkwing Duck for the NES. But one of the sort of underlying reasons was the nostalgia of the Game Boy. This was my first point of contact to gaming that was the beginning of gaming, essentially. I remember friends owning these in the olden days. I remember a friend whose dad worked in the States and he brought it back before we could buy it in South Africa, and I played the Game Boy and it was mind-blowing. And part of this journey is to see, is the OG hardware as good as we remember, or is the nostalgia better than the memory? And so today, this is my first emulation device. This is my first Game Boy. And the reason why I've titled this video the end of my YouTube channel, or I'm quitting YouTube, or whatever I'm gonna title it, is because now that I have this, I've kind of achieved my goal. The nostalgia of the 80s and playing these games is about to be realized. So I've unboxed it. It was just as it is now. These things are quite expensive, obviously, as you know, and I managed to find one for a pretty decent price here in South Africa, and we're going to look at it now. It's pretty banged up. You can mod these things. You can get an LCD screen and all that, but you know, if I want retro games on a really good screen, I can get the Miyoo Mini Plus. This thing is fantastic. It's got all the retro feels and probably does it better than a modded Game Boy could do. What a person is trying to achieve when buying an OG console is kindling the nostalgia of the olden days. Obviously technology's moved on, obviously things are better now, but there's this memory that we have, and also the question, you know, is this as good as I remember? I know that once I do a full sort of video about this, the conclusion is going to be that I don't want to mod it and that I want to play it as the games were intended in the olden days. So this is a different journey to emulation. This is collecting games, collecting cartridges, and discovering something that this journey is a little bit different for me living in South Africa, where I couldn't afford any of this stuff. So for me, this is a first time experience. I'm 43 experiencing all of this for the very first time. So this is a unique journey for me personally, and that's, I think, why it's something good to do for the channel. But overall, for anyone wanting to get into this is different to emulation. This is nostalgia, this is collecting stuff, this is just a super nerdy journey to go on. I'd like to take you along with me on that ride. So let's do a hardware rundown, as I usually would, while we wait for the batteries to charge. I'm gonna clean it now. Let's actually do that. Got my little screen cleaner thingy from my wife, who is an optometrist. The nice thing about this compared to my PSP Street is that this screen cover thingy is removable and replaceable. So yeah, that is pretty badly scratched. That's not dirt. Yeah, that's actually all it's done is made the scratches more visible and accentuated them. So that's quite bad. And so I think the only mod I will do is to replace this cover. If you buy a new case, you're not going to get that Nintendo Game Boy. The color's not going to be exactly as it was. And I kind of like the fact that it's got an old barcode here. It's got the old Nintendo number on the back here. You know, all the stuff, like all the old things about it are cool. So, you know, maybe if I find something's wrong with the internals, I might do something to improve that. But I really want to keep it as it was. Oh, man. I haven't held it until I made this video. It's been sitting here while I've been doing other work. And man, this is crazy. This is just crazy. Like, I was an 8-year-old little boy playing these games. It's quite a thing. It brings back so much nostalgia. There, I think I'll replace these buttons as well. Takes you back, you know, and for as you get older, stuff like that becomes really important for your mental health and just happiness. So let's do that hardware rundown. When I was looking at the Miyoo Mini now, and I'll overlay some footage of the Miyoo Mini, you know, they've done a very good job of nailing the nostalgia of this button. This is still a pretty solid membrane, but like mushy as well, as you know, as we remember. It's a looser, it's not as tight, but it's very close. Like, they've done a very good job of getting close to that. That's really good. You know, so it actually kind of brings into focus how good something like the Miyoo Mini Plus really is. So yeah, so that D-pad is, after all these years, still a little bit firmer. But a great, like, nothing beats the Game Boy D-pad. Like, I really thought I was going to try this and think this is absolute rubbish and I make a big joke about it on screen. But, you know, that is the perfect retro D-pad because it is the quintessential retro D-pad. It just is lovely. That is so good. The thing that I have mentioned a lot over time is why our beloved retro emulation guys aren't making bigger buttons. Very clacky, those very clackety clack buttons. But that's just years of wear and tear, so I don't really want to replace the membrane, so I might open it up and see if they're cracked or whatever, I'll buy new membranes, but very clickety clack. Select and start. Again, why is nobody doing these rubber buttons? Just that's as I remember, like it's just bringing me back. That is your classic start and select, but very recessed, like too recessed. Like you've got to really kind of like get your finger in there to press those buttons. We've got the Nintendo Game Boy logo. We've got just the classic, you know, the light and this whole thing. And you can buy replacements for these because there's no logo on here. I don't think there's any copyright infringement, so you get it exactly as it was in the olden days, just remade in modern times. The only thing is these shells. Like I was looking at shells on Funny Playing now, and as well made and, you know, accurate as they are, the plastic just isn't the same. And so you're not going to get, you know, like these old PCs and stuff. Remember this like terrible color that they used to make everything in? You just don't get that anymore. They don't make it like that anymore. So if you can keep your retro shell, I think that's better. And like I said, I really like the fact that I've got these old stickers, old barcodes. It just gives it such an authentic look. You know, there were guitars, like Fender's guitars. There's a company that actually make them look banged up to make them look like an old guitarist, a famous guitarist guitar as it looked in a certain concert. So there's actually people who make them look distressed and old. And so I just feel like I've got a piece of history here and I mustn't change that. So for me, I think I'm going to be more of a purist when it comes to these old OG consoles because I don't want to have a bigger LCD screen. I'm doing a different video about the build your own Game Boy Color. But when it comes to this, I just want to keep it as close to the original. And this, like I have mentioned, is a very, very special moment for me to own this and to have this. And I actually got it for a pretty good deal from some guys in South Africa. They didn't rip me off. You know, like I've said, this is a very special, unique thing for me. And I want to keep that sort of historical feeling as I had it in the olden days when I was a little boy. So, yeah. Let's get the game going. Hopefully it works. Okay, so I'm going to get my batteries. So who knows, maybe I'll get annoyed with these batteries, but I want to keep it like the olden day experience, you know, so I want to keep this looking as it was and the frustration of finding batteries and all that. I want that feeling that my friends had that I never got to have. You know, I played I think it was my cousin or somebody, I don't even know whose it was, but I remember playing this. I never got to get the, like, I own it, live with the device experience, and so I really want to have that experience. As you can see, this does, I know it's very nerdy, but it means a lot to me. All right, okay, so the batteries are in. All right, so now I got Quicks because it's one of my favorites. So I'm gonna put that in there. This is so cool. I don't know if anyone's watching this, they're gonna think this guy's crazy, but for me, this is just such a big deal. Okay, let's see. Oh yes, okay. Yeah, I'm seeing some issues with the screen. They told me the screen was fine, but actually it isn't. Yeah, this D-pad is excellent. I actually don't think there's something wrong with the screen. I think there's something wrong with the connection. Might just need to give it a clean inside there, open it up and clean it. The screen is atrocious. It's an absolute shit show. It's crazy how bad it is. The sound is awful, but like, the sound is so bad, but it's the memory of it is just wonderful. Like, the sound is just great. It's as I remember it. So it's interesting because you've got all this width, so it's really nice and chunky to hold, but the natural sort of holding position is here, and then your thumbs go here. So it almost feels like the controls should have been a little bit higher up on the Game Boy. So you end up holding it lower down, so this top part sticks out quite a bit of your hands. Let's just see. You see, I really wish these older game consoles still had the scroll wheel, because it is a retro feeling thing. It's on the Game Boy, a scroll wheel would have been ideal. If I'm comparing it now, you've obviously got shoulder buttons for shortcuts and stuff like that. I wish the buttons were bigger. The thickness of this, the width of this really does make a difference if you look at that. That's a huge difference. Yeah, you see, the problem with the Miyoo Mini is that there's nowhere to hold onto. There's nothing to hold onto here. You've got this tiny little bit to grip onto. So, even though you're holding this lower down, there's still way more for you to grip onto with your hands. So I definitely feel the form factor is better here. It's honestly not what I was expecting. I thought I was going to look at the only thing is the screen. So a huge thing with these emulation devices is that in modern times we can emulate it on these beautiful screens. So that is a big deal. But apart from the screen, there's like nothing beats the original Game Boy. It's just fantastic. Like, I can't wait to get into more games with this. I finished Super Mario World 2, I think, for the first time on this. I'm just gonna play it on here. It's gonna be amazing. So in terms of the state of emulation and which journey you want to go on, I know there's all this drama at the moment online about Yuzu and Citra being shut down by Nintendo, and it is quite nerve-wracking. As someone who makes videos about things that play games that people can do illegally, there is that kind of worry, and it's always been something that concerns me, and it is one of the reasons why I've decided to go down this route, is because, I feel a need and a responsibility to do the OG hardware thing. And I'm so glad that I have, because it's an unfulfilled, lifelong desire to own one. And I really can't wait to get into this. I'm going to be doing a Game Boy Color, build your own Game Boy Color thing soon, so check out for that. And I'm definitely going to be getting into more mods and all that kind of thing. I really enjoy that sort of thing. I like a little bit of soldering and all that sort of thing, so stick around for that. But the emulation side is not dying, don't worry. That is something that is very much top of my list in terms of the things that I love to do on this channel. So yep, I just hope you enjoyed my excitement as I unboxed a Game Boy for the very first time in 43 years of living on this planet.